What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Family and Fit, where we talk fitness and how to integrate in your busy lifestyle. So I'm kind of just going to take you guys through my day-to-day, but there's something I do want to talk to you guys about a little bit further in this video, and I'm about to switch up my timing of whenever I hit my workouts. That's something I haven't done a video on in quite a while, so I think it's a topic that I should hit up, and it's kind of like the timing of a workout, when it's best to work out in the morning, the evening, when you get off work, etc. I guess I can go ahead and dive into talking about what is the most important when it comes to working out. Now, alright, so the lighting's not going to cooperate with me today. The camera's not going to cooperate with me today. It's going to flop everywhere and maybe cause a wreck. So, I'm not going to deal with it. I'll just check back in with you guys whenever me and my daily lunch sandwich have our reunion. So, I'll catch y'all then. Alright guys, I'm back now. Time for some lunch. A little bit overexposed. Don't worry about it. It'll be alright. We'll get through this. Time for my sandwich. My sandwich? Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, just a simple sandwich. I did actually go ahead and have a energy supplement earlier. So let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. Let's talk about some intermittent fasting real quick. And the first thing that I'd like to go ahead and notify you guys of is don't worry about your eating window. Like, if you're utilizing intermittent fasting as a fat loss tool, then it makes no sense whatsoever to try to use an eating window. And the reason why I say that is because by restricting yourself to an eating window that doesn't really work with your schedule, you're kind of defeating the purpose of using intermittent fasting. The whole purpose of intermittent fasting for fat loss is to make it work with your schedule a lot better and to be able to have more calories when it's more likely for you to overconsume foods. So, for example, I work a first shift job, so it's a lot harder for me to just consume food all day because I'm working my 9-to-5 job. But when I go home, then it becomes a lot more difficult for me to stay out of the refrigerator and keep my calories down because I'm just so hungry when I walk in, because I have access to food. And when you have access to food, it's more likely that you're going to eat food. Whereas when you're doing a 9-to-5 job and you got to either sit at your desk all day or you got to be at the job doing whatever task it is you have to do, it makes it a lot more difficult to be able to eat whenever you want to. So by saving so many calories for the end of the day, like when I get off work, it makes it so much easier to consume my 1,000 calories that I have left for the day during that period of time and make it so that I don't just overeat. Whereas, say for instance, if I had already consumed 1,000 calories by the time I got home with breakfast and lunch, then I would go home and I would only have 500 more calories to consume for the rest of the day. And that would make it very difficult. Whereas now I'm able to go home, eat dinner, and then still have 500 more calories to just consume throughout the rest of the evening. And that just makes it so much easier for me to stay on top of things and make sure that it's sustainable and that I'm staying on top of my caloric goals for the day. And it also gives me more time to evaluate at the end of the day, like if I'm low on my proteins, then to consume a protein shake, or just overall looking at my macros for the day and seeing what's low, what's high, and how I need to adjust and plan for that. Whereas a lot of times whenever you're just doing a 20-minute lunch, 30-minute lunch at work, you don't have time to bust out your macro calculator, because a lot of times that can take a decent amount of time. So when we're cooking dinner, we will start counting the calories for our dinner, counting the calories for our snacks for the end of the night, and going ahead and preparing all those different foods. That way they're ready to go, because it takes so much time to weigh everything out. And it's not that it takes a whole heck of a lot of time, but it does take some extra effort and extra energy. It may take you an extra 20 minutes to weigh out your foods for the entirety of the day. And so that's kind of the theory on, why intermittent fasting is so useful. So how do I go about executing my intermittent fasting? And if you're subscribed to this channel, you probably already know. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subular button. And if you find this video helpful, hit that thumbs up button. But it is a good idea to, watch our channel, because then you'll see how we actually execute these on a day-by-day basis. I can tell you right now how I execute it, and I'm going to here in a second, but it's not the same thing as watching us on a daily basis execute our entire meal plan, our fitness plan, and just overall the whole entire scheme of what we have going for our fat loss goals and our fitness goals at the moment. And it just gives you that more behind the scenes, raw, seeing how you go about doing things. I'm really big on liking to see what people are doing behind the scenes as far as business goes, because I'm just trying to grow myself as a business, and just watching people behind the scenes do things is like just such a valuable thing to have. So I'm going to give you the primary structure of my intermittent fasting first. Okay, so the primary structure of my intermittent fasting is I allow myself to have my first meal at 10 a.m., and then I will have my second meal at noon, and then generally my last meal won't be until like 3, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whenever I get off work, and then I'll have enough calories left for a snack. Now, the way the calories are set up on that meal timing is that at 10 a.m., I allow myself to have a protein shake. Boom. Boost my protein levels up high, give me a good start for the day. My second meal of the day will be generally this sandwich right here, or I will do something that has about the equivalent amount of protein in it and the equivalent amount of calories, which this is about 300 calories almost. And so this boosts my protein levels up. I'm using a low-calorie bread, so that way I'm keeping my calories down from the carbs, and keep making sure I'm also keeping my proteins high. That way I can eat more snacky foods at the end of the day. Now, for the last meals, or for my dinner, I generally will do just a standard, like, American dinner. I might do, like, some type of meat, potato, and vegetables. Or, like, if I just want to get really full-filling, then I'll just have multiple vegetables and a meat. And then a lot of times for my snack, like almost always, I'll use a Greek yogurt as my snack for the day. And, like, a non-fat, plain Greek yogurt. And then I'll add my own sweetener to it. I'll add fruits to it, things like that. Certain things will fluctuate, especially before I break my fast, depending on how hungry I'm feeling and how my schedule is for the day. So, for example, when I said I'll allow myself to eat at 10 a.m. for my first meal, sometimes I don't actually eat that first meal. Being that it's a protein shake, what I've actually been doing a lot here lately is I've been consuming this at noon, so I have not even been consuming my first meal until noon. And then I'll save that 10 a.m. protein shake for 3 o'clock whenever I'm about to leave work. And I'll do that so that way when I walk in the door at the house, I'm not feeling super hungry. I'm not like starving. And I just go inside and binge eat. And that's one of the biggest things is when you start binge eating. And that's why it's also so important to count your calories, because then you know if you just go ahead and allow yourself to binge eat, you're going to count your calories and realize you don't have anything. So it just prevents you numerically, like just watching that number psychologically, from consuming too much food, because you almost want to save your calories like it's money, you know. And whenever you think about food like that, it helps you respect food more. It helps you realize how many calories are in things. It helps you realize the caloric density, the protein levels of certain foods, and just overall give you a better understanding and respect for food. And that's one of the best things about counting your calories and going into a diet, and especially a hardcore diet. But overall, this intermittent fasting has been working out great for me this time. The first time I did intermittent fasting, I was felt sick. And the first 3 days of this cut felt pretty bad. They were really rough because I've been bulking for 6 months straight and not really been in a deficit at all. Going into that deficit, you can definitely have some adverse effects and just feel like garbage. And, intermittent fasting alone, even if you're already in a caloric deficit, takes a little bit of an adjustment period. And if you've never done it before, it may take longer than somebody who's done it repetitively. You're probably going to feel the struggle for about the first, 3 days to a week, something like that, maybe even 2 weeks. And depending on how large that eating window is, you will get over it. It just may take a little bit of time. Something else that I want to add in here real quick before I forget is that I do take fat loss burners, but I take them as a suppressant for hunger. And also with intermittent fasting, what I'll notice, and this is a learning process for me and for myself and for everybody else that does it, but as you get closer to the breaking of your fast, you have moved further away from the last time that you've had a meal. And you may start to feel really weird and kind of high, and just you'll start feeling cold. And that's just because your body is going into such a deficit, and you're targeting fat cells so hard that it's almost like going into ketosis for those who practice ketogenic diet. And it's because your body has no blood glycogen or anything else to use as an energy source. So you will start to feel weird effects. And a lot of times I'll use these fat burners as a way to balance out those type of negative effects that I'm getting. So being cold, I use the fat burners to balance out some of the negative side effects of intermittent fasting, and that's just feeling weird. But that's a part of it. That's what happens when your body goes into utilizing fat stores as energy. It's just not the most efficient way for your body to get energy, and it tries to not go to that source. So what it'll try to do is it'll try to shut down your metabolism. It'll try to basically do everything it can. You're outputting as little energy as possible. So during those last few hours, 4 hours, I'd say anywhere between 4 to 2 hours from whenever you're going to break your fast, you'll really start feeling those effects pretty exponentially. And during those periods of time, you're going to go into a lower caloric output state, especially if you have a sedentary job. And by taking these energy supplements and fat burners, they have multiple things in them, like thermogenic, which is going to help keep your body warm when you're feeling cold. They have caffeine in them, which is going to also increase your metabolism, which is also going to make you feel warmer. It's basically going to force yourself out of the calorically restricted state that your body's putting itself in. And by doing that, you're now targeting pretty much every extra calorie that you're burning directly towards fat. And where your total calories are what really matter, if you can get the most out of those last few hours of being in a fast, and being that you're targeting directly your fat cells, and you're also making the difference. Because say for instance, if you're in a caloric surplus at that period of time of the day, so say for instance at the last meal of the day, if you're taking a fat burner, you may increase, let's just say for instance, I'm just use arbitrary numbers, completely arbitrary. Your resting metabolic rate is like 100 calories an hour. And then you go ahead and you take an energy supplement. Well, let's say for instance now your resting metabolic rate is about 125 calories an hour. Okay, well, you're burning 25 calories extra an hour, which is not really that big of a deal, right? Well, let's say, for instance, in your fasted, when you're reaching the point where you're going to break your fast within the last 2 hours, then your resting metabolic rate might drop down to something crazy to like 25 calories. Now, these are just arbitrary numbers. But, for example, it might drop down like all the way down to 33% of what your regular resting metabolic rate is. And you might only be burning 25 calories an hour. Well, that's just because your body's putting you in that starvation mode, and it's putting you into that state where it doesn't want to let go of any extra calories. Now, by going ahead and taking a energy supplement, you're probably not going to get up to that 125 calories an hour that you would have if you were in a surplus state. But you can definitely bring that way back up to, maybe you're back at 100 calories an hour, or 110 calories an hour, 90 calories an hour, but it's going to be way better than that super dropped off state, and the pills are going to be way more effective during that period of time. And that also goes for if you can limit your caffeine throughout the other periods of your day. So if you're only consuming caffeine during that last few hours of you being in a fasted state, then that caffeine is going to have even more effect, and that goes for any type of stimulating supplement, thermogenic supplement, or anything that's just going to help you burn extra calories. The less you take it, and the more that you take it during those absolutely critical times is very, very important. And I would even suggest, like right now would be the best time to do cardio, just because right now is whenever you're going to be targeting your fat the most. And it's not the fact that you're necessarily targeting fat the most at this point in time. It's the fact that your body's going to try to lower your resting metabolic rate. It's going to try to lower the amount of calories your body's outputting right now. And by forcing yourself to be active to do that, it'll say, okay, well, I need to use this energy. It's an emergency state. Let's use the energy. You could get the same effects of taking these supplements as doing a few sprints up and down the road and getting your heart rate up really high. But this is just a way to do it if you have like a sedentary job and you just don't get much activity in your daily life. Hopefully you found these tips useful. If you did, I hope I see you in another video. I hope that y'all check out some of our Instagram and our Facebook to get some more behind-the-scenes stuff, because on stories we're posting what we're doing daily. On Instagram, we're kind of posting some of our gym sessions and a little bit more of our nicer-looking content, a little bit more of our like photography content, whereas, Facebook, we're going to keep it way more like down-to-earth, way more behind the scenes, way more family oriented, with the whole entire aspect of our family, and taking photos with the kids and like just our daily activities and whatnot. And that's kind of how I plan on structuring this whole social media thing. I definitely plan on being more informational here on YouTube and also doing some vlog style stuff with that as well. But a lot of times I don't like to walk around with the camera all the time when I'm at home because my family time is very limited. So guys, like I said, if you stuck around to the end, I highly, highly appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who watches our videos and hits that cellular button. Guys, it's been nice seeing y'all. Catch you in the next one.